Hey, how's it going, everybody? I'm doing a little morning walk. I'll make a video for you guys, and I'm gonna try to give you my points and opinions and why I feel like North Wilkesboro should not be dirt. And at the end, leave your comments below, and please let me know how you feel. So last night I kind of got into I don't want to say an argument, but just a back and forth with Matthew Dillner on Twitter. And I will reserve some of my opinions about his knowledge of the history of NASCAR for a later date. But he posted something on his Twitter, or he commented on North Wilkesboro about how it needs to be dirt. And so there's a couple of reasons I think people are big on a dirt thing, right? And I'll go over. I think there's about three. One, people really enjoyed the Bristol race, okay? That's just, fact of the matter. It was a crowd pleaser for the most part. And there were some legacy fans, is what I call them, that maybe didn't like them or whoever, but most people liked them. Second reason, people think that if you turn North Wilkesboro into dirt, it will be a lot cheaper, and you don't have to worry about repaving it, which would cost more money and this and that, and it's cheaper, and it's a good way to get the track going, and it's also would be fun. People think it'd be a nice track to turn into dirt. Because the asphalt's already damaged, they say, and I think it's one of the turns it's sinking. The asphalt, the actual grade. So the third reason that I believe, and also because North Wilkesboro started out as dirt, so they're saying it's like a throwback. The third reason is I think there's a lot of people that love Bristol. I love Bristol, okay? And they don't want to see Bristol have its date lost, an asphalt date lost to dirt, because I think right now that's a real concern. Okay, so the guy that runs and Save the Speedway Twitter account, he's adamantly said that he's against dirt, and I will tell you what he said, and I'll tell you the same thing that I feel, which is basically what he said. So Here's what people are uneducated about, right? And I get that there's a lot of NASCAR news going on, and you can't keep up with everything, and there's a lot of hot topics. But I will tell you what the problem is and why people need to get off this dirt movement. So Governor Cooper, the governor of North Carolina, he said that he wanted to dump $30 million into North Wilkesboro, The Rock, and Charlotte for renovations. So each track would get $10 million. Well, the whole area around North Wilkesboro and Wilkes County, and that I-77 corridor and whatnot, is starting to really develop, and tourism's kind of coming around there a lot, and there's a lot of stuff going on that if you're not a local North Carolinian, you might not be aware of. With that said, North Wilkesboro is unlike Rockingham, where Wilkes County and the surrounding counties and the town of Wilkesboro is all behind this racetrack. Like, they are hugely behind it, right? So with that said, the bill came through North Carolina General Assembly to pass for $30 million. A lot of all the tracks. The General Assembly said, hold on, wait. We think North Wilkesboro needs more than that. Let's do 20. So they rewrote the bill and passed it through. I'll use the word pass because I don't see how it's not going to pass. Everything leans towards it passing. I think the Democrats and Republicans in North Carolina, they both know it's going to make the state huge amounts of money in the long run to get NASCAR going again. Especially in Wilkes County, in that area, really is starting to kind of pop up with tourism and all kinds of other stuff. So I There's nothing I can see that will not suggest it won't pass. So then, of course, Wilkes County, they've got their own pot of money. And, there's some proud investors like Marcus Lemonis and people like that. So really, the track's getting more than $20 million for this whole deal. It's getting about, I don't know. I think their county budget is 7-something million that they're going to use for it. Marcus Lemonis to donate $1 million. I think so. I think they're looking at close to like $30 million total for this track, right? Just for North Wilkesboro, okay? Because the county has their own stash of money they're using for this, and the town. So everyone's saying, well, let's make it dirt, okay? Because we're trying to save cost. Look, folks, this isn't Los Angeles, California, okay? Save the Speedway has already said they're using local contractors and local businesses and stuff like that, So they're not paying these premium prices like out in California for labor and everything else, because the local carpenter or the local lumber supplier or whoever, they're going to give them discounts. They're going to give them breaks because they live in a town and they want to see NASCAR come back, because most of those guys are NASCAR fans, So the whole it's going to save money thing is a bunch of, it's just, that's not a valid argument, okay? It's not about money at this point. There's plenty of money to repave the track. They've already, Save the Speedway already got a quote to repave it, and it wasn't nearly as much as people thought it would be. They got a real quote from somebody to repave that track, and I want to say it was like, I don't know, it was around 3.5 or 4 million, close to that marker is what they said. So, of course, safer barriers and everything else, but I'm telling you, $30 million will cover safer barriers and everything else and get that place, at least running good enough for like an SRX and, maybe the trucks, But anyways, so that's squashed. Number 2 reason. They say that, well, it's history. That's where they started at. They started North Wilkesboro, on dirt. True. But they only raced North Wilkesboro on dirt for a very, very short amount of time. It was only for like 6 or 7, 8 years, something like that. And I can tell you right now, there are not very many fans that were 20-something, 30-something years old at that race in dirt that still watch NASCAR today. That would make them like 70 or 80 years old. Now, there might have been some little kids that don't remember it, but, their daddy told them they took them to that race. Okay, they might still be watching NASCAR because they're maybe in their 60s and a little bit younger, or 70s. But, I mean, those dirt times were from the 60s to 70, 80, 90,000. That's 60 years ago. So, I mean, if you were 10 years old watching that race, you're 70 years old right now. I can tell you right now, my grandpa died at 81 5 years ago, and he didn't have a lot of friends that watched NASCAR, and he grew up and raced in NASCAR his whole life. Well, he raced in, racing. I just don't think a huge pocket of fans are going to remember North Wilkesboro's dirt who are still watching today. So what I'm getting at is most of the people that remember North Wilkesboro was on asphalt. So yes, while history says, oh, it should be on, dirt and this and that from the beginning, the reality of it is most people don't remember it being on dirt. So in my opinion, and Save the Speedway guy who runs a Twitter account totally agree with me. He's been saying this. That's non-valid. And I think he's right. The third one is I think people are really afraid to lose North Wilkesboro or afraid to lose that Bristol race because they wanted asphalt. Dale Jr. and guys like, Erica Steep and all them big time YouTubers and Twitter dudes and everything. It was funny how they were so on board with the dirt thing, and now they're like, oh well, I think there's room for dirt, but maybe not at Bristol. That's weird. So one good Bristol race gets put on in over a decade, and now all of a sudden the spring race recently, and now all of a sudden they don't want to do dirt at Bristol. But when dirt was coming to Bristol, Bristol's getting kind of stale, and it's just kind of, time for change and this and that, Weird. Funny how that works. So, look, I'm not saying that we should or shouldn't be doing Bristol dirt. What I will say is that there's still some things we need to iron out with the dirt racing, okay? One of them is we're going to need longer stage breaks so they can rework the surface. That's just period. I mean, we saw what happened at the dirt race most recently with the trucks. Was that Nashville or wherever they were racing at? You know, it got to be at the bottom groove, was the only groove. I mean, no, you couldn't race the top. I mean, a lot of issues. So I think for dirt races to be good, and for, you know, if we're going to keep running this type of body style of car, which isn't really designed for dirt as far as letting the dirt move through the body panels and stuff, because everything's sealed in so tight, they're so low that you're going to have to take time to rework the track, so you're not getting cakes of dirt on the radiator and it's not a dust storm, you know. So there needs, I'm not against dirt, but there needs to be some things done, or they just need to give us dirt purpose built cars, which in my opinion goes away from NASCAR's whole narrative of we want to show the fans, you know, cars that resemble the passenger cars that they buy at the dealership. Well, if you're gonna make a dirt car, probably not gonna look like any passenger, you know, Toyota, Ford, or Mustang, or whatever. So that's just my 2 cents on that. So those are my 3 real main concerns. And so here's my other voice right to the whole dirt thing. And to me, the Bristol argument I just made is kind of will make sense with this, right? So everybody thought Bristol was a great idea at first, right? Well, then Bristol puts on a good asphalt race in spring. It's epic and everything else. And now people are like, we can't. I don't know. Like, let's see if we can do something else. So with that said, I believe that this North Wilkesboro situation is a bit of a fragile situation, and you don't want to go the wrong way with it. So what I think they should do is go ahead, pave it, do safer barriers, everything else, with the option. The key word is option. Option to make it dirt. Okay, meaning that if you make it a purpose-built dirt track, and that's what you got, and you didn't spend the money when you had it and everything else, and who knows where that money went to next, you know, then you might lose an opportunity to make it asphalt. And so I just really feel that you need to pave it, do the asphalt, spend the money, and hey, let's say it doesn't work. Let's say, you know, for whatever reason, people just don't like it, this and that. Well, then at that point, you know, you can make it dirt, and, you know, people can just kind of adjust from there. You know what I mean? But to just do it dirt right off the bat, I don't think that's a good idea. You're putting yourself in a box. There's plenty of other dirt tracks in that area. You know, that's just not, I just don't think that's a good idea. And then people are like, well, you know, we got to do something to bring back the track. Well, there's plenty of money to bring it back now, you know. So I think that was a big argument, was people were worried about the finances, but that's totally shut down. There's no argument on that. There's no, $30 million is plenty of money to get that place going. The guy who does Save the Speedway, Steve, he went on an interview with, I can't think of the podcast, but he went on an interview and he said, look, he's like, most of the structures are concrete structures. There is some wooden stuff that has to be torn down, but he's like, it's really not that bad, you know? He's like, it hasn't been a whole lot of, you know, yeah, some storms or damaged stuff and everything else, but, you know, most of the seating and stuff is actually still okay. And in my opinion, you know, they're going to have to make it a little bit nicer for cup races, obviously, but I think that North Wilkesboro wants to do this, and I think they're smart to just kind of go like this, the throwback style. Like, you know, this is the race for the old school fans that don't need Wi-Fi, that don't need, you know what I mean? Fans that just want to sit there and watch a race, you know. We don't need these cushioned seats and the little tray tables in front of us like at Charlotte, you know what I mean? I went to Charlotte, you know, and I got seats a little bit higher than I used to, and it was nice. There was like a little spot to put your drinks, but, you know, this can just be like a raw old school track with you know, old school aluminum chairs that still work, you know. So I think with all that said, you're definitely going to bring the cost down, and I think that's fitting for North Wilkesboro. I think, you know, Stage Speedway has already spoke about how they don't want this place to get too, they don't want it too fancy, because that doesn't fit the feel and the narrative of that area and the town and everything else. So, but anyways, I'm gonna wrap this video up, and let me know in the comments below what you guys think. You know, maybe some different angles you might be looking at stuff from, and yeah, we'll keep you updated. But either way, North Wilkesboro is coming back. It's just how fast, what capacity, when's it going to come back, you know. Sometimes it takes it takes a while for, you know, legislative and everything else to start working and the money actually getting into the bank accounts from the time something gets passed. So, you know, it could be a while. You never know. But North Carolina, I can tell you, living here for a very long time, it's a state that doesn't play around with some things, and it's a happening little state. And you know, we just had Apple move here from California. You know, we've got a lot of IT stuff down here, and all these areas are just blowing up. So, you know, I don't think they're gonna sit on their thumbs too long. They're gonna make it happen. State's all about revenue, and I think they've got some good people that are you know, trying to get this all happening. So, all right, holler at you later. Bye.